Hello students. This week you have one viewing and two readings. The viewing would take about an hour if you watch it at regular speed, but one of the things I love about YouTube videos is I can adjust the speed and I have no trouble following the gist of the narrative watching it at 1.25 or 1.5. If I crank it up to double speed, I'm probably missing a few things that might be significant. You also have two readings. One is fairly simple, and it's by some authors you already know, which is the power couple of visual design, graphic design, Lupton and Miller. And so on that fairly simple reading called The Laws of the Letter, you will have a quiz on that. But the other one is a rather complex reading, and it's by Roland Barthes, who is a no longer alive French philosopher, postmodernist, deconstructionist, semiotician. And in the past, students have found that so challenging that what I did was I recorded 3 different videos where I attempt to unpack that essay for you because it is kind of tough sledding. That said, it's also, he's got some important things to say about what he calls the rhetoric of the image. Your visual design project number 2 is due on the 19th. And I want to say a few things about that. First, in the past, people did a wonderful job using PowerPoint and Microsoft Paint. So you do not need to be an expert at Photoshop to fulfill that assignment pretty well. Now, I think Microsoft Paint no longer even exists. But if for some reason you'll have trouble completing that or are not pleased with your results, we can push the deadline on that a little bit. One of your group is actually here today, having borrowed a MacBook that has Photoshop and Illustrator on it, so we can try and learn some of those programs. One of the people who did a wonderful job in a past semester, the one where it's a woman who Photoshopped herself into a picture along with her boss, who is the director of the Princeton Art Museum. She knew nothing about Photoshop before that. She worked with me in my office for about an hour and came up with a very convincing aspirational image. So I don't want anybody to freak out by saying, well, I have to have it done by the 19th and I don't know how to use Photoshop. So by all means, get in touch with me if you would like some hands-on guidance with that. On the other hand, some of you probably have Photoshop skills which are superior to mine, because what I do each semester is I go back and try and remember the things that I used to know how to do but forgot, because if you don't use them regularly, you forget them. I will finish responding to your visual autobiographies probably later today, and then after that I'm going to ask you in a discussion board to briefly talk about the design decisions that you made to produce your visual autobiography. But first, let me give my responses to you, and then I hope to hear from you about how it is that you decided to represent your visual autobiography of your preparation for this course in the ways that you did. Also, one more thing, I hope you're keeping up on your VASMLs. I have not updated mine, but one of the things I just decided today is, although I am tempted to quit Facebook because of some of the very negative things involved regarding the way that company sold our personal information to unscrupulous vendors, and they're in some serious trouble in Europe. In the U.S., the protection of your privacy is pretty lax, so they probably won't get hammered here, but they might get hammered pretty badly in Europe. But what I find myself is I won't quit it because I use it to stay in touch with relatives, friends, family, neighbors, and I find out about things that I wouldn't know if I left Facebook. But I have decided I'm going to try and put myself on a diet where I look at my Facebook page only once a day. And if I can do that, I will save all manner of time that I otherwise spend just kind of scrolling through a lot of stuff that's really not of value. So I'm going to post this, and I look forward to finishing up my responses to your visual autobiographies.